Good morning and welcome back to Mull. Nice weather for ducks today, so this is only about the second or third since lockdown of the messages from Mull that I've had to do from indoors because I've had no other choice. Extremely heavy rain this morning would have completely flooded the phone, I'm afraid. So I've hung on a little bit longer and come indoors. Had to get all the lights on because it's like the black hole of Calcutta. So today's message from Mull is define, measure, reward. And this touches on goal setting, which is something that, again, is very important to us at Healthy Options and something we return to quite regularly on the message from Mull. And today, really, I want to focus on those three areas and really define what's important to you, find a way of measuring it, again, that's important to you, and find a means of rewarding yourself for achieving those goals. And again, something that's going to make a difference to you and brighten your day, basically. So let's start with define. And defining fitness or defining progress is something very specific to you. And it's really important that you think about what is going to make a difference in your world. So when you're setting your health, your fitness goals, your nutritional goals, think about what will make a difference. Think about what's important to you. It's also worth thinking about what may make a big difference to others, especially those that are close to you, loved ones, work colleagues, friends, who maybe have to help or assist you in certain ways related to your health and how an improvement in your health may have a knock-on effect to them. Sometimes that can be quite a strong motivator, even though the fact that when we set SMART goals, the S of the SMART stands for specific. But quite often it's worth thinking about the knock-on effect of improvements to our health and fitness on others that mean a lot to us. And also think about the things that you perhaps can't do at the minute that you would like to be able to do. And for a lot of folks that come to Healthy Options, they are activities based around activities of daily life. So things that maybe have become awkward or challenging, are not possible anymore because of deteriorations in their health, and they would like to get that back. And sometimes getting that back can be world changing and quite literally change lives. So define what it is that's going to make a big difference to you. Then we're going to measure it. Now, at Healthy Options, obviously, when you come to us, we have various ways of measuring health and fitness. We take blood pressure, we take your height, your weight, and we work out BMIs, and we also look at your percentage body fat. We have our fancy machine that tells us about body fat levels, visceral fat levels, which is the fat that surrounds your internal organs. And we also look at your lean muscle tissue and also your resting heart rate. So we have various ways of looking at some hard data. We can't do that at the minute, obviously, with the COVID crisis and the fact that Atlantis is still shut down for the time being. Not too long to go, though. So think about ways that you could measure your progress or measure your fitness at home. Now, that could be as simple as looking at your clothes. And if you're trying to lose weight, you will hopefully notice a difference in the fit of your clothes. Sometimes when we start an exercise routine, we put on a little bit of muscle tissue and bone density improves, so we weigh a little bit more, but if the fat's coming off, you'll still see it in your clothes. You may want to get yourself a little tape measure and measure your waist circumference, your thigh circumference, your upper arm circumference at the widest point, and then keep a little eye on that as you try to lose weight, if that's what your goal is. It may be that you've got yourself a fitness tracker and your step count is a good way of measuring your progress, or the frequency with which you're doing your training sessions. So before you came to Healthy Options, you may have been doing very, very sporadic exercise or walks, and now you might be doing on a regular basis. So that might be a good way of assessing how you're progressing. You might want to mark that down on a calendar, a little chart, and when we write things down, we tend to stick to them a lot more. It's like making a little contract with yourself. So I would encourage you to write things down. That's something I must admit that I've done my whole working career. I'm a list man. I tend to make lists. And I find that if I make lists, then I get a lot more done, and it's quite satisfying when you tick them off. And you may have some fitness goals and health goals that you can hopefully tick off in time. You might want to measure the distance that you're walking or the distance that you're cycling, and see that as a way of measuring your improvement. You may, if you have a fitness tracker, you may want to look at your resting heart rate over a prolonged period of time. So these things can download information to your PC or your phone. You might want to look at your sleep patterns and whether that's improving as a means of measuring your health, because obviously that's going to have a profound effect upon your overall well-being if your sleep is improving. You might want to look at the frequency with which you're having treat type foods. So if that was something that you were doing a lot, say you're having a lot of chocolate biscuits, again, might be worth taking a little note of how you're progressing, and whether you're able to reduce the treat frequency, perhaps to just a couple of days a week, where it may have been 5-6 days a week before. You may want to make a little note of perhaps your level of pain. So a lot of us are suffering with joint pain or nerve pain or muscular pain, and for a lot of people, that's one of the biggest improvements they see when they start to train and become a bit fitter, is that their pain reduces. And perhaps the amount of drugs that you're having to take, especially if you're taking regular painkillers, that might be a way of assessing progress, that you're actually taking less drugs, less side effects, which is what we're all after as well. So various ways of measuring your progress in terms of your health and your fitness. So we have defined it. We're going to find a way of measuring it. So something that's important to you, find a way of measuring it that's again important to you, and then we're going to reward ourselves. And try not to do it with food. So if you've been planning to lose weight and you've hit a certain goal, say you've lost your first half stone, then don't rip the backside out of it and think, okay, champion, I can go out and have a McDonald's now and drive up to Fort William. So let's find ways of rewarding yourself that again are important to you, will give you a real lift, but something that will not put you back to where you used to be. So things like perhaps clothing, especially if you've lost a bit of weight. One of the best things is to go out and buy some new clothes, a new size. It could be something to do with the new hobby or activity that you've taken up. So if you're walking a lot more, why don't you treat yourself to a new pair of walking shoes or trail boots, a new coat, you might need it today. Any sort of accessories that might help you when you're out and about. What about a slightly more advanced fitness tracker? If you haven't got one of the little watches that measures steps and heart rate and sleep patterns and stuff like that. And you don't have to be a technological whiz kid to work these. They're very, very easy to use. And they give you some great feedback and great data and a focus and a way of measuring quite specifically how you're progressing. Believe me, most people who know me, especially those in Healthy Options, will tell you that I'm no whiz kid and I can work these just fine. So don't worry about that. Or could you give yourself a little bit of a break away from the area, maybe a long weekend, a spa break. Obviously we can't do much in terms of massage just at the minute, but that will come, I guess. But think of things that hobbies or activities maybe that you've taken up during lockdown, and you may be able to buy yourself something that will help to further that interest and keep that going. It could be a new bike, for example. So if you took an old bike out of the shed and you've been making do with that during lockdown, and you think now this is something that you're going to take up, why not treat yourself? Get yourself a nice new bike, and further that interest in that hobby. And then, so once we've done that, you've defined it, you've measured it, you've rewarded yourself, set the next goal. So never be satisfied with where you are. Think about where the next jump is, where the next goal is. Keep the interest there, keep the motivation there, keep the enthusiasm there. And even if the next goal is to maintain a certain level, we can't always keep going up and up and up and up. We all have a ceiling in terms of what's possible, in terms of what time we have available to ourselves, but just think, where do I want to get to in another few months' time? What do I want to be doing? And perhaps write that down and then aim for that goal. Because sometimes when we start to lose our goals and lose our enthusiasm, that's when we're most at risk of falling back into old habits and old behaviours that perhaps will work very, very hard to change. So there's your message from Mull today. Define, measure, reward. I hope this weather picks up. I hope you manage to get out and about, and I will be back maybe on Friday this week. I am off for 2 weeks after Friday, so I may come back with another little extra one on Friday, because that would be message from Mull number 80. 80. That would be a nice way to sort of pause before I have a fortnight off, and then after that we'll be coming back in some form to Atlantis Leisure. So look out for updates on this platform, and from your designated fitness instructors, your specialists. They'll be feeding you information as to what's actually going to happen at Atlantis, and stay safe, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.